A very good morning to all my dear students. We have already started the chapter Atomic Structure, and today we are going to learn electrovalent bond. Now, what is an electrovalent bond? It's a bond formed when a transfer of electron takes place from an electropositive element to an electronegative element. This electropositive element loses electrons and becomes cations, while electropositive element gains electrons and becomes anions. This bond formation we are going to show in a diagram form. But to do this diagram, we need to know the valence electrons, because transfer of electrons takes place only by the valence electrons. Now, how can we know this? How many valence electrons are there? Now, we can know this only if we know the total number of electrons. And how can we know the total number of electrons? If we know the atomic number. But atomic number, that is also a big question. How can we know the atomic number? That means we need to learn the mass number of every element. In your syllabus, there are 20 elements. You need to learn the mass numbers. Now, how to remember the mass number of these 20 elements? Now, I will just teach you a process by which you will be able to remember. What is it? You have creases on your fingers, and we are going to remember how many elements are there in each finger. Now, for example, the little finger. In little finger, we are going to take crease number 1 and 4. For example, hydrogen 1, helium 4. Next, we come to the ring finger. Lithium 7. Middle finger, beryllium 9, boron 11, carbon 12. Finally, the forefinger, nitrogen 14, oxygen 16. We come to the thumb, fluorine 19 and neon 20. So 10 elements mass number we got from this palm. Now the next is our left palm. Now here also we have to go according to the creases. Now see here, in this little finger, the last two creases we are going to take. 23, 24. In this finger, again the last two. 27, 28. This finger, again the last two. 31, 32. This finger, remember the forefinger, last but one. It is only one element. 35. And this thumb, again the last two. 39, 40. So, let us recap. Sodium 23, magnesium 24, aluminium 27, silicon 28, phosphorus 31, sulfur 32, chlorine 35. I told you one element, so chlorine is 35. Finally, potassium 39 and then calcium 40. Argon is also 40. Because calcium and argon, remember, it's the isotope. We are going to discuss that later. So these are the 20 elements. You need to learn the mass numbers. Next part, what you need to do is that if you once mug up the mass numbers of these 20 elements, easily you can find out the atomic number. You will ask me, Miss, how? I will tell you how. Now listen, suppose if we take helium. What did I say, students? What is the mass number of helium? 4. Isn't it? Yes. I don't have balls with me, so I am showing you in the form of pencils. So 4 is the mass number of helium. How to get the atomic number then? What I am going to do is that I am just dividing the 4 into 2. So this 2 is my atomic number. This 2 is my protons, and these two are my electrons. Then what are these two? This is the neutron. So 4 I am dividing into 2. 2 is atomic number, 2 is proton, 2 is electron. And this 2 is my neutron. But you may ask me, Miss, if it is an odd number. Yes, I will show you again. Now in that case, what am I going to do? See here. I have taken, see, 3 red pencils and 4 blue pencils. Total, it will count to 7. So lithium mass number I showed you, it is 7. How can I divide this 7? I cannot take any decimal value. So what am I to do is that I am just dividing it in this way. See, 7 I am dividing into 4 and 3. Follow me. 7 I am dividing into 4 and 3. Out of these 2 figures, which one is smaller? 3. So this 3 is my atomic number. This 3 is my protons. This 3 is my electrons. And what is this 4? Neutron. So I hope you can follow now. If it is an odd number, you have to divide in such a manner so that the lesser number becomes your electrons. So by this way, you will be able to find out the total number of electrons present. Now, we got the total number of electrons. From here, we will have to find out how many are valence electrons. How can you do that? In class 8, you have already studied the nucleus is at the center, surrounded by shells and orbits. Always you remember that the first orbit will carry only 2 electrons. The second, 8 electrons, you know that. Third, again 8 electrons, you know that. And the remaining will go accordingly. Now, for example, if I take sodium. What is sodium mass number? You know sodium mass number, I have told you. It is 23. How can I divide now? So 12 and 11. Remember, the smaller number is 11. So 11 is my atomic number. This 11 is my protons. This 11 is my electrons. So what I am going to write is that, see, sodium. (23). So 23 is my mass number, okay, for sodium. Next, my atomic number, which is equivalent to that of protons and electrons, will be equal to 11. So here I am writing electrons is equal to 11. Now, as I have told you that the first shell will contain only 2 electrons. So how can I distribute the electrons? The first shell is containing 2. The second will contain 8. So 10 gone out of 11. So 1 is left. So last shell contains 1 electron. So am I clear up till this much? So I have divided. I got 11 as electrons and shell division has been also shown here clearly. Next element I am going to take is chlorine. Chlorine mass number you know 35. I told you in this finger. I am dividing chlorine. How can I get my atomic number? 18 and 17. So 17 is less than that of 18. So this 17 is my atomic number. That means this is my proton, this is my electron. So I am writing here chlorine. Chlorine here is 35. Next, electron is how much? 17. How I will divide them into different orbits? First shell you know, you have studied in class 8, 2 electron. So this is my 2, first shell. Second is 8. Third shell maximum, remember it is 8. Bar is 8 for third shell. How much I am getting? 8 plus 2, 10. So 17 minus 10, 7 electrons. So third shell is 7 electrons. Now what am I going to do? I have to draw the diagrams here to show how the transfer is taking place. Now this I just want to give an example. Suppose you are reading in class 9 and your small brother is in class 2. and your father gave you a 10 rupee note and to your brother 2 rupee coin, and both of you are fighting. Why? You want that 2 rupees and he wants that 10 rupees. Now you are an elder sister. Now what will happen? Definitely he will fail and finally will give the 2 coin. You will take that 2 rupee coin from him. So similarly here we find that the last electron is 1. Here the last electron is 7. So definitely this sodium will try to attain a cation. How? By losing this electron. This 1 electron it will try to lose and will form cation. While this chlorine is having 7 electrons. This chlorine will also have a tendency to complete the shell, the orbit, by having 8 electrons. So it will try to accept 1 electron from this sodium and will become an anion. So this one will go to this chlorine and will join up with this 7 to form 8 electrons. Now this thing we are going to show it in the diagram form. Just see very carefully what I am doing. First I am going to draw sodium, okay? See here, first shell what we have? 2 electrons. So I am drawing here 2 electrons. See. Second what I am having here? 8 electrons. See I am drawing 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And finally the last electron I am drawing here 1. Clear? Now this I am, at the side of this I am going to add the chlorine. So plus sign. So I can get with the red color plus sign. So it is adding up. This is my electrovalent bond I am showing here, plus sign. And see now I am drawing the chlorine. See how I am doing the chlorine? Here chlorine I am drawing. And here see the first electron is that 2 electrons in the first shell. So here 2 electrons I am drawing. Then what I am having? 8 electrons over there. So I am drawing here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And finally the third shell I am having 7 electrons. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is done. Now see after this combination what we are having? This 1 is getting transferred here. See this 1 electron is getting transferred to this chlorine. So this is my sodium atom. This is my sodium atom. And this is my chlorine atom. What I am getting there? Sodium ion and chlorine ion. Now how can we do that? See here. Again I am drawing sodium. See here. 2 electrons. And finally 8 electrons. The first shell 2 electrons. And the second shell you see 8 electrons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 electrons are there. So this is my sodium ion Na plus. And then finally the chlorine one I am going to do, which is I am getting, see there, the third shell, then the second shell, and then the first shell. Now see, how can I do this? Here, the first shell having 2 electrons, then the 8 electrons, see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and finally 7, 8. again 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and finally 7, 8. So this is how the formation takes place. So this is my Cl minus. Now listen children, this plus bond is the electrovalent bond. These sodium and chlorine are electrovalent compounds and the full process is known as electrovalency. So this diagram you can only draw if you know how many electrons are there in the last shell. And that only you can calculate if you know the total number of electrons. That means you need to know the atomic number. And atomic number, how will you remember? By learning the mass number. So children at home, please learn those 20 elements very properly with the symbol and with the mass number. Next class we are going to study covalency. Thank you so much.